all the famous people have snaked into here in their cars.
Yeah.
Leapt out.
Yeah.
Sterling Moss.
Yeah.
Ron Flockhart.
Roy Salvadori.
Yeah. Think of the GT40s back in the 60s.
With the E-types.
And here we are walking on this hallowed ground.
Yeah, beats Lords.
We could be part of this.
What, you mean with a team? Do you know how many millions and millions of pounds it takes to get a team? And where do we get the mechanics? Who's going to drive it?
This is not the most stupid idea I've had.
My initial interest in Le Mans undoubtedly came when I was a teenager. There was something about the idea of these cars racing through the night, but also the fact that people would come from all over the world to this sporting event. Very large numbers of Brits would go over to it, and the jet set are there. I mean, it's got all the ingredients.
Very good indeed.
You still want to do this?
We will be here next year.
Well, you better go buy a Porsche.
He'd gone out there to watch the race as a spectator, but came back with the idea that he wanted to race the team at Le Mans. We'd spent all weekend at a horse show, and my daughter had done very well at the show, so we were thinking along those lines, and totally taken aback by the fact that he suddenly had this idea for racing these cars. But at the time, I thought it was just a pipe dream. I thought he'd have forgotten about it next weekend and be on to the next thing.
I did an interview on Radio Le Mans and confessed to the fact that I would very much like to enter a team. This has produced an avalanche of advice from some people who want to help me, and from many people who say, don't be daft, it's impossible.
I think people are finding it a little bit difficult to take Noel seriously. I think they're thinking, is this just another gimmick?
I don't want to make a fool of myself, and there'll be a few people who'll just dismiss it as Mr. Blobby mucking about, or Crinkly Bottom Racing Club or something. But I am very, very serious, and one of the things I'd like to know is whether or not I am capable of actually driving at the race. Once a year, I hire a motor race circuit, generally Clarkson, which isn't too far from where I live in the West Country, and I invite a few mates along. And they bring cars, and I take a couple of my cars along, and we spend the day driving quickly, not racing each other as such, although sometimes a little bit of needle creeps in. I think it was thrashing round Castle Combe, and that finally convinced me that I would make this dream happen and get a team to Le Mans. I mean, I kept thinking back to when I used to drive racing cars in the 70s, and I wondered if there was any chance that I would still have the ability and indeed the stamina to actually drive in the race myself.
My favourite corner, this. Swing it in, snap it out, hold it in a long drift all the way around. And then a smell of burning rubber.
It's fantastic. I mean, that smells like I've burnt some toast, doesn't it? Well, then I know I've had a good drive, but absolutely fantastic. I've never driven this car like it in my life.
Very nice.
You don't need a team doctor, you need a team psychiatrist. Like a nutter.
One of the reasons I'm here is because I have a certain history with Le Mans.
Yeah.
And I certainly really have retired, but I'd just love to know what you're doing, you know. It's of interest, because you don't hear much in Britain about British projects.
I've got a great passion to actually enter a team, because although I accept that things have changed a lot at Le Mans over the last few years, it's about the only form of top-level motorsport that an amateur can get reasonably near. Would that be true?
In big time, yeah, in the international terms.
I mean, Formula One is totally closed.
It's totally gone, yeah. No, absolutely.
I mean, is it possible, ignoring my personal ability, but I mean, is it possible for somebody who doesn't race very often to actually take part in Le Mans?
I think it is, yes. I think you could do it. But I just think you need to be realistic about it and get out there and do a heck of a lot of driving around. And because you've got to remember, you know, not at Le Mans, I mean prior, just to get yourself in the groove.
Are you going to be there next year?
I'll be there watching you.
Yeah, fine. That's a fat lot of help, that, isn't it?
What's really surprised me is how big a commitment this project is actually going to be. It's not a case of just latching on to someone who wants to race at Le Mans.
It's going to cost a lot of money, and we've got to find sponsors, we've got to find cars, we've got to find drivers. Most importantly, in some respects, we've got to find someone to run the team. I met up with Dave Price at Le Mans this year, and he actually ran my first saloon racing car way back in the 70s, and he's a very clever operator.
I've seen you on the back of the television.
Well, yeah, but you know, you're pitching in at such a high level that you're going for the biggest race in the world first go, really. And you know, it's an enormous mountain to climb.
I mean, do you know what you're going to do next year?
I'm not sure, Noel, to be honest. There's a few options open to us as to which way we go for next year. But it's a lot easier for me to stay with McLaren. They're around the corner and we've got a good relationship with them.
But I mean, what's that going to cost?
It's going to be $1 million, whatever way you look at it. And that's without any spares.
It's an astonishing amount of money, but I mean, you've got to have two, haven't you, really?
I wouldn't go there with one car. It's too difficult. Go and speak to a few other people. Just go around the other manufacturers and see what's on offer. Because it's not fair to you or to me just to come here and me say to you, all right, no, look, if you want to do something, it's going to cost that much, and we need this, this and this, and we can provide this. But go and see what someone else has got.
My first stop was at that well-known British racing car manufacturer, TVR. You see, they were rumoured to be working on a GT1 car for Le Mans. If I come to you in January, February time, would you be prepared to build me 2 cars for Le Mans?
What we are not going to do is go to Le Mans and say, this car is TVR's attempt at Le Mans, and then it pull out after a couple of hours or whatever. That is definitely not going to happen. People are wishing us to go to Le Mans. I'm only going to go to Le Mans if we've got a reasonable chance of doing okay.
Not convinced that TVR would actually get to Le Mans, I went to have a look at Lotus. I want to go racing at Le Mans. I want to have as British an effort as I possibly can with a 2-car team. What's possible?
Anything's possible at this stage. We're at the very start of our programme. This car has already run. It starts testing seriously next week.
We could be in a situation that the Edmonds team effort could have 2 of these cars available.
That's correct, Joe.
And I'm not going to write you a cheque for them.
No.
But we'll come to some sort of arrangement about, well, hopefully getting a sponsor.
Absolutely.
I was still considering the Lotus when I got a call from renowned racing car designer Adrian Reynard. And Adrian invited me to the launch of a new road car in the States, something called the Panoz. Adrian was heavily involved with the project, and Adrian's track record in design is second to none. He'd already been on to David Price, and Dave was very keen to see how good this Panoz was. It was backed by an American businessman, Don Panoz, and it turned out that Don's dream was the same as mine, really. He wanted to win Le Mans, and it sounded exactly the kind of project that I would want to be involved with.
This is a pure racing car, probably one of the first pure GT1 cars designed to race, to have the maximum efficiency, the highest chassis stiffness, the best suspension design, the best aerodynamics, and I have no doubt that we will exceed all the performance expectations. So we can deliver that.
I think you have to accept if you know the route that we're going down.
I was happy to leave the wheeler dealing to the experts, but I have to say, I knew already this was the car I wanted.
All I know I've got at the moment, put on the table, is currently the most successful team in sports car racing. That's what we can bring to the party at the moment.
And all we can bring is...
I haven't got £2 million of sponsorship at the moment.
Yeah.
5 million, whatever.
Well, for sure, we're not going to go out this room with side contracts, but I think we're going to go out of this room with a very clear understanding now of our objectives and what you're prepared to do. I don't want a project that fails halfway through. It's as bad for me as if it fails on the last lap of Le Mans.
I think with the pedigree of Reynard, with the Roush engine, and someone like Dave Price with Le Mans experience, I'm actually hugely optimistic, which is the reason why, of all the options we now have, this is the deal I'd like to do.
Yeah, the chassis are all made next door, yeah. Well, in fact, all of it's made next door. The Panoz came into consideration really because of the people that were involved. Reynard had been commissioned to design the car. The Ford engine was a proven, reliable unit that's won Daytona 24 hours on several occasions. It's really tried technology. It's a 2-valve pushrod aluminium 6-litre Ford V8. The figures we're seeing on the dyno have indicated that they're giving good power. We're still working on the fuel consumption figures, but they're looking quite good.
He's familiar with all the dials, etc., etc.
Good morning.
Oh, morning.
Right.
Hi, Noel.
Pleasure to meet
This is
you.
Paul.
Hello, Paul.
Hi.
Pleased to meet you.
And this is your mount for the day.
This is the car that you've just... Well, I still harboured a faint hope that I might be able to drive at Le Mans.
This year, piloted by myself and James Weaver. It's a very successful car, so don't damage it.
Oh, right. That's just a note from my wife.
Funny thing is, it's easy getting in, but I tell you, when you've done a couple of hours in the car, you don't get out quite as easily. You're a bit stiff, as they might say.
Right.
But you want to make sure, obviously, that when you push your foot down on the clutch, it isn't out fully straight. You've got a bit of bend left in it, and it's obviously you don't want your brake pedal to be flat to the floor.
Yeah, if you go down too low, I can't see over the steering wheel. The wheel feels so close. I mean,
You see,
is it all in the shoulder then?
Yeah. Well, you'll find. Obviously, you notice, like when you go and lift weights up, if you lift them up with your arms out straight, they're a lot heavier than if you have them closer. And I think you'll find after a few laps, you'll probably get quite tired of turning that wheel or even just moving a little bit. Bit of weave on there. He's doing all right. He's getting the old gears up there, and that's great. Really good. How do you do then, kid?
Bloody hell.
Amazing, isn't it?
Unreal.
So,
Derek, I think there's a reality dawning here that there's an awful lot more to this than meets the eye, really, isn't there?
yeah, well, I think what you mustn't forget, you've been out of racing for quite a few years. You're improving all the time, but you know, you need another year. You haven't got a year to spend testing and driving and all the rest of it.
At least I'm giving it back to Ray in one piece, which I suppose is the most... I think it would have been terrible if I'd done something stupid to it. Now we really have reached a milestone, because now the public know about it, there is no turning back. I had been really looking forward to today. The first time that the car will turn a wheel, and the whole thing's got off to a bad start. I'm here at Silverstone, but the car's still in Surrey. It won't start. This is our garage. Our empty garage. It's arrived. The only problem is it now takes about 2 hours to get it out of the truck. What made you so certain about something that's so untried?
Well, when you look around, you see the people that are putting their trust in this car. You, for instance, David Price. We can't all be wrong.
Well, there it is. I never said it was going to be beautiful, did I?
Well, when I drove the McLaren, it was a fabulous road car that was converted into a racing car. But the championship's now moved on, and everybody's building more a car that's more biased towards being a proper racing car. And Adrian Reynard has a fabulous reputation over the last 10 years for building winning cars. And to me, it looked like the best car to have.
I didn't expect it to be misfiring like this, no.
When you come with a new car to a track and you do a shakedown test, you really just do that. You make sure that nothing falls off. Sounds crazy, but sometimes there are mistakes. You wouldn't actually come here to try and see how fast the car would go, for instance. So from that point of view, we don't know what the performance is like, but the general feeling is really good. And next week we'll start a serious test program and find out just how fast we can go.
Well, here we are on finals for Le Castellet. The mountains behind Marseille are over there. This is the circuit Paul Ricard. And it's no exaggeration to say that the hopes of our Le Mans project rest on what happens here over the next few days.
Nothing happening at all because we've got a serious problem with the engine management side.
I say we need to be out of here Friday because we've got to be at the bridge Saturday. We're playing United.
To engineer a car that all works together and the last 24 hours is incredibly hard. And if you look at a Grand Prix, the amount of money they spend, you're lucky if you have 10 cars finish a Grand Prix that lasts 80 minutes. And we go faster for longer.
At last, day 2, the car is running.
It's going to be very, very hard because even if the car proves to be really fast and reliable in 4-hour races, there's always something that can come up and bite you after 18 hours or 20 hours that you just hadn't expected.
Well, 3 days of testing. Almost over. Everybody's very tired, so it's back home to England. We haven't proved whether the car is durable or not, but we have proved it's jolly fast.
After a humiliating race at Hockenheim, when one car didn't even start the race and the other one could only finish in 11th place, the mechanics have come to Pembury for final testing.
Well, Hockenheim for us was a real disaster. Mainly it was computer problems. It was running rich, running lean, and we couldn't get a fine balance. We had misfires, various misfires, and eventually we had a few fires as well, just around the day off. the last test day before pre-qualifying, basically. Hopefully the engine's going to be all right today. It certainly sounds a lot better this morning. It has done for a long time. We'll just have to look forward to Le Mans now and see what happens. Reasonable morning, at least. Hello, Noel. How are you? I'm fine, you? Yeah, it's quite good today. We've had a fairly good morning, fairly constructive. We've done about 20 laps this morning. No, we sorted a few engine problems out. It's running a lot better than it did at Hockenheim, at least, anyway. So we'll carry on this afternoon.
What I didn't realise was how much of a challenge it would be for the very experienced people that are now around me, with me, that I am associated with. And I think we're all feeling the strain a bit at the moment. We get very disappointed if Linford Christie doesn't qualify for the 100 metres. But if he comes third, you say, well, he gave it a go. Well done, Linford. But, I mean, we stand a chance of not even getting through pre-qualifying. I mean, that is serious amount of egg on face.
The quality here, the standard of a lot of the cars is much better than the GT1s in the States. But
here, qualifying's quite different from everywhere else because it's all day, from 10 in the morning till 6 at night. Every lap you do is timed, so it could be any one of the laps you do at any time during the day. 5:30 tonight, the cars have to go into park for May, which means you can't touch them until just prior to practice tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. We've got to make sure we've got finished tonight, and we are struggling at the moment. I hope that might be the sound of one of mine starting up. That's the one we've been waiting for. So just keep your fingers crossed for a while that it stays running. If it stays running for more than 30 seconds, we're looking okay.
Split qualifying up into 2 days. They've taken one car from each team. We have, I think, 15 cars in our class in this day, and 12 can go through. So 3 don't go through. Well, that sounds very easy, except that the competition in Le Mans is always very strong. So to make sure you're not one of those 3 is not as easy as it sounds.
Does it well, just make sure we let everyone know what's going on, because there's a lot of people around.
Do you read me now, Andy? Over. So you're a bit Tom and Dick then, mate, are you? I feel terrible. Yeah?
So they've done one lap.
Okay, back to the pits. The rear bodywork is loose, and also I've got a misfire.
Had a big shunt and there's a car on fire out the back somewhere.
Yeah, into the barrier, it's smashed all the bits off. Yeah, it's gone over the top, it's set fire to the whole forest. All the trees are ablaze.
Something must have really gone wrong, because there's no way. I mean, that's just a flat you can drive on either side of the road there, but you used it all because to get the terminal speed out of it.
going for.
We can do this, but we'll have to do a very slow warm-up lap. I lost about 7 or 8 kilometres on the straight. So the water temperature's obviously caused it to go richer because it's gone over 100.
Had it not been for the accident, qualifying would be ending in about 9.5 minutes. But the reality is it's going on for another hour to 7 o'clock, and our dire situation is that the car has got a split to the head gasket, so it's pumping out its water. We have to go faster. Somebody has just said that the Lister has gone quicker than us, which would mean if this situation exists, in just over an hour's time, we won't have qualified.
The Lister is back in the race again at the moment at this stage.
Everything buttoned down properly. We've only got this one shot.
You have to be quicker than 3 cars in your group, and at the moment we're only ahead of 38 and 36.
We've got to beat this guy here. We've got to go faster than that. What was the time? Yeah! Yes, 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 yes!
Well done. Well done. Stunning. Stunning.
The following day, the second car, driven by ex-Formula One racer David Brabham, finished 6th with a time of 3 minutes 47 seconds.
Well, it's not so difficult to do one quick lap, but to do 24 hours is another story. And, we've got just 6 weeks to sort ourselves out and get our act together, so it won't be easy.
I would be over the moon if the team could finish. If they can finish in the top 3, it's a bonus. If they win, it's a miracle.
We're under no illusions. We have got through to the test qualifying weekend, but then we've got to get into the race.
I'll find out if Noel and the team actually get to Le Mans next Thursday at the slightly later time of 10:30 here on BBC One.
Well, look, I'm sorry about the weather, but I was right. I promised a year ago that we would be here at Le Mans.
And you are, but I suggested you should get a Porsche.
Yeah.
And you got a...
Panoz.
A Panoz.
Yeah.
Nice. Why didn't you get a Porsche?
Have you got any idea how much a Porsche costs?
Have you got any idea how much they're going to win by?
I suppose that ever since Le Mans began in 1923, it has inspired dreamers everywhere. The Bentleys dominated the 20s, but in the 50s, of course, it was the turn of the Jaguars.
300,000 people and more than 100 of Europe's best drivers were at Le Mans. Lights tested, 53 cars got away in the famous 24-hour sports car race.
These were the glory days for the Brits. Drivers such as Stirling Moss became heroes. Don't look at that, it's too embarrassing. I followed the Le Mans story since the 60s, and now, I can't believe it, I'm part of it. The Panoz team have got as far as the final qualifying stage, but frankly, we still have an awful lot of problems to overcome.
We went through all the dramas at pre-qualifying, which was tense enough in itself, but it doesn't actually finish there because they take 52 cars from pre-qualifying and they actually only start 48. 2 of those 4 would be GT1 cars, which is the class we're in. So there are going to be 2 extremely disappointed car-team combinations going home.
Obviously, I don't just want to watch the race from the pits. I want to be part of the team. I want a hands-on job. So Pricey is giving me a chance at refueling. And if I get it right today, he says he might let me do it for real in the race.
Driver has to qualify. Now we have 3 drivers in each car, and every driver has to qualify within 125% of the fastest time in your group. You also have to qualify at night. Every driver has to qualify at night, but for only 3 laps.
Very oily from the second chicane all the way through Indianapolis. It's a bit slippy through the Porsche curves as well. Okay.
Car 55 is going really well at the moment, putting in some very good lap times, but of course we still have to qualify the 2 other drivers in that car. Unfortunately, everyone is going faster, apart from our 54, which is still failing to get the best out of the engine.
Well, you can't, it's impossible to go 49 with that engine like that. So if we pull out all the stops, if it blows up, it blows up.
Right, it's got, we ain't going to get in otherwise.
I feel totally impotent in this situation. We have 2 hours, and we might be packing up and going home. And I'm not very happy about that. Brabham's put in a quick one, and that car might have qualified. But we're all so tight together. And I don't want to wish the Lister ill, but someone has got to drop out, and please God, it's not a Panoz.
Finished. The main incidents have been during the 2 hours at which you've been present. Number 40 caught fire just after Mulsanne. Number 40, that's the Gulf Davidoff McLaren of Nielsen, Bischer and Goodwin.
It's not the way that we'd like to do it, but if they officially withdraw the McLaren, car 54 will be in the race. And our other car 55 is doing okay, but the problem is, so far only 1 of the 3 drivers have qualified.
It's not sounding right. It's we might still do it. I mean, we've got another hour and a half. You know, nobody's quitting. Nobody's going to give up.
Current situation is that the fastest car has now got some transmission problem, has broken down the other side of the circuit. 2 of the 3 drivers have not done the requirement of a minimum of 3 laps in the dark. So we've lodged a request with the stewards, because it's at their discretion that the drivers will still be able to race the car. The consensus of opinion is that they won't say yes. In the early hours of this morning, 2 great bits of news. Gulf McLaren were very fair and quickly withdrew their car, so 54 is in. And the stewards have agreed that Doc and Perry in 55 are eligible to drive.
To have put a team together in a year to come here is astonishing. It's like saying, I know what, let's walk to the sun. You kind of think, well, it'd be fun, let's do it. But you can't. It's like one of those things that I honestly can't believe how they've done it. Because the car just simply didn't exist, not even really in somebody's mind a year ago. And here we are 12 months down the line with two cars that, if sound's anything to go by, are going to be front runners.
We've been lucky enough to get through pre-qualifying and now through qualifying, and yet we're still up against the same problems that we started the season with. The guys are distraught, they're shattered, the drivers are climbing the walls. Everybody up and down the paddock knows the potential of the car. High-speed handling is phenomenal. The levels of braking we're getting are outstanding. And yet we still don't have the top speed power that we need. We don't have the drive out of corners that we need. Everybody's gutted, really, to be quite honest, and we're trying as hard as we can.
Well, the race may start at 4, but I've got a prior engagement on the track. I've been let loose in a 1957 D-type Jaguar, which has actually raced here at Le Mans. It's now my turn, and believe me, I am not hanging around for anyone. That was the most incredible fun. You enjoyed it? You should have one. Well, I didn't know when it was meant to be a procession, but I thought I'll never do it. No, just enjoy it. You only get one chance. Yeah, exactly.
Well, where's my car?
Holy Panoz!
Magic people, voodoo people.
Well, after all the dramas, all the heartache, all the frustration, we've actually made it. Both our Panoz cars are starting the 1997 Le Mans 24-hour race. Refueling after midnight, but now I'm going to do the very first stop. So here's a great opportunity to really cock everything up. That was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my life. Because just at the last moment, he seemed to be coming straight towards me. And I thought, I must be standing in the right place. And thankfully it went. The guys have just said, that's the way to do it. You've just got to keep very cool and calm about it. Put it on steady, hold it locked on. But it doesn't lock itself, you've got to keep the pressure on. And then you don't lift off till he lifts off, otherwise that's when you get a fire. Only about another 40 to go. Well, of course, the rate of attrition at Le Mans is really high, and as you can see, the first cars are already starting to go out.
Here. We're not picking up fuel then. Did you hear that? He's out of gas. Hey, just try and keep it sloshing around and pick it up as best you can. Are my guys down there with you and can they push you?
The fuel reserve failed when Butch was on the way into the pits, so it effectively stopped, and the marshals pushed him to a position of safety, and he tried to explain to them in best American that the safest place for it was back in our pit. The marshals disagreed and left him at the start of pit lane, so Butch then put it in first gear and cranked it along on the starter motor until the ring gear broke, the starter motor melted and the battery went flat, at which point he just got into pit lane. So the lads ran down and pushed the car up here. Butch has now got his feet up having a cup of tea. There are about 8 guys falling all over the back of the car trying to fix it. Yeah, leave the fuel pumps on the whole time, otherwise it won't get us all.
At the moment, the cars are going, and when you look at all the other dramas going on up and down the pit lane, including, you know, the hottest of the works teams, people who've come here with millions and millions of dollars to do the job, and they're actually doing less than we are.
When the cars come in, you guys are running around like lunatics. I mean, who does what? There's only about 4 of you working on each car or something?
Yeah, 2 fuelers and 2 tyre changes. That's all we're allowed. You have to go all the way through the night doing the same thing.
Has now been going for over 7 hours and already 10 cars have dropped out. David, Doc and Perry in 55 are doing absolutely brilliantly. They're now up into 16th place.
Unbelievable. Even the most pessimistic member of our team said we'd be out by 9 o'clock. It's now 11. Both cars are still in, which is something you can't be said for these poor people. The Lister team, Tiffany Dell driving one of them, it's out. What happened? That thing.
Car 54 is down in 28th place because of that long pit stop earlier. And unfortunately, he's coming in again. James has just radioed that he's got a cracked windscreen and he can feel a serious vibration.
Wise.
Okay, we've achieved one milestone. We've actually got ourselves into Sunday. It's gone midnight. But as you can see, we've got a problem. Originally, James Weaver thought that it was the prop shaft that was failing, and this car has had those failures, but it would appear that it might be something to do with a loose suspension.
I've done about 4.5 hours so far, and there's no margin, let's put it that way. I'm giving it absolutely everything.
We have all the time in the world. Time enough for life.
We got to 2:45 with the fastest car, and Perry got it onto Mulsanne, bang, big time. It's let go, so that's the end of that. We nearly got one into the top 10.
We have all the love in the world. If that's all we have, you will find we need nothing more. Every step of the way will find us with the cares of the world far behind us. We have all the time in the world just for love, nothing more, nothing less. On the
How do you think you're doing, you know, at 3:30 in the morning when one's gone and the other one's so far off the page, it's nearly on the floor?
Well, the Nissans have gone all over the place. Lotus are out, both the Listers are out. We've lost our 55. The other Panoz, the Dam's car, that's out. And look at this lot. Look at them. Try and guess at which point we are in the race. We're halfway. Halfway.
Well, this is fantastic. Andy, James and Butch have now got 54 really going well. They're going quicker and quicker. There are now only 28 cars left in the race. There is a real chance that we could move into the top 10.
Donc, ce qui prouve que la course reste réservée jusqu'à la fin, il faut rester vigilant. Ça bouscule un petit peu au départ de la course.
This is taking ages to update. I'm sure we are now in the top 10.
Yeah. Got to be. Not a bad show for first time out. For a company that never built a race car before.
Still 7 hours, Don.
When we all woke up this morning, those of us who were lucky enough to get to sleep, you know, we're really pleased to hear that it's still all happening, the car's still in there and going really well. And I mean, Noel's on a real high, he's very excited about it.
thought I saw some smoke coming from the right front as you passed here, Butch, as the engine failed completely.
We tried, didn't we?
If you walk away, Butch, it's done. But I mean, if it's not going to start and get back to here, then there's nothing we can do.
You've seen what the mechanics have been through. You've seen how much they've worked over the last few days, well, months actually, but especially the last few days. For them, it would have been nice to bring it home. But it wasn't to be this time. But we'll have to come back.
You never want to come here not thinking you're going to win. And all the guys here all harboured some hope that we could win. In your heart, even if your mind tells you that that's pretty unrealistic.
And when I walked out of the paddock here to go and have a shower, people were hugging me, and we failed. But an extraordinary experience, and I'm pleased. I think I did 22 refuelings without incident, and I realised a dream.
Share more of the glamour and excitement of the race. Le Mans, the movie, starring Steve McQueen, is at 12:20 here on BBC One.